everybody. I'm going to read to you Fireflies by Julie Brinklow. And then once we read it, I'll show you how to do your highlighting. Okay? On a summer evening, I looked up from dinner through the open window to the backyard. It was growing dark. My tree house was a black shape in the tree, and I wouldn't go up there now. But something flickered there. A moment. I looked, and it was gone. It flickered again, near the fence. Fireflies. Don't let your dinner get cold, said Mama. I forked the meat and corn and potatoes into my mouth. Please, may I go out? The fireflies. Mama smiled and Daddy nodded. Go ahead, they said. I ran from the table down to the cellar to find a jar. I knew where to look behind the stairs. The jars were dusty, and I polished one to clean on my shirt. Then I ran it back up 2 steps at a time. Holes, I remembered, so they can breathe. And as quietly as I could, so she wouldn't catch me dulling them, I poked holes in the top of the jar with Mama's scissors. The screen door banged behind me as I ran from the house. If someone said, "Don't slam it," I wasn't listening. I called to my friends in the street, "Fireflies!" But they had come before me with polished jars, and others were coming behind. The sky was darker now. My ears rang with crickets, and my eyes stung from staring too long. I blinked hard as I watched them. Fireflies! Blinking on, blinking off, dipping low, soaring high above my head, making white patterns in the dark. We ran like crazy, barefoot in the grass. Catch them, we cried, grasping at the lights. Suddenly, a voice called out above the others. I caught one, and it was my own. I thrust my hand into the jar and spread it open. The jar glowed like moonlight, and I held it in my hands. I felt a tremble of joy and shouted, I can catch 100! Then we dashed about, waving our hands in the air like nets, catching 2, 10, hundreds of fireflies, thrusting them into jars, waving our hands for more. Then someone called from my house, it's time to come in now. And the others called from their houses, and it was over. My friends took jars of fireflies to different homes. I climbed the stairs to my room and set the jar on the table by my bed. Mama kissed me and turned out the light. I caught hundreds, I said. Daddy called from the hallway. See you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile. And I'm going to go here and I've got this on the next slide. So let me just take it off of this slide here. Okay. After a while, crocodile, I called back. I caught hundreds of fireflies in the dark. I watched the fireflies from my bed. They blinked off and on. The jar glowed like the moonlight. But it was not the same. The fireflies beat their wings against the glass and fell to the bottom and lay there. The light in the jar turned yellow like a flashlight left on too long. I tried to swallow, but something in my throat would not go down. And the light grew dimmer, green like the moonlight underwater. I shut my eyes tight and put the pillow over my head. These were my fireflies. I caught them. They made moonlight in my jar, but the jar was nearly dark. I flung off the covers. I went to the window, opened the jar, and aimed it at the stars. Fly! Then the jar began to glow, green, then gold, then white as the moon, and the fireflies poured out into the night. Fireflies, blinking on, blinking off, dipping low, soaring high above my head, making circles around the moon like star dancing. I held the jar, dark and empty, in my hands. The moonlight and the fireflies swam in my tears, but I could feel myself smiling. And that is the short story, Fireflies by Julie Brinklow. Boy, does it bring me back to summertime when I was a kid reading this short story. Hopefully you can see the change that happened in the story too, and how the author was thinking and feeling. And you can see that not only did the first paragraph have strong leads, the entire short story kept using those lead strategies: dialogue, action, thinking, setting, and feeling. All of those things are important when we write, okay? So as we look at the story by Julie Brinklow, we're going to go in and use our tools here. And once we click on the slide like that, it'll be part of what I've copy and pasted into the slide. And you'll get that blue frame around it, letting you know that you can move this part around. I mean, I'm not necessarily recommending that you move it around, but that's what it means actually, is that I've inserted into the slide. So you want to be careful, okay, when you're using this, that you don't delete anything. If you do by